My name is Will Magnan, and I'm here to talk to you about mental health issues and the stigma behind mental health. To begin, I'm going to go over the general idea of mental health issues and what comes along with them. Mental illness, also known as mental health issues, refers to a wide range of mental health conditions and/or disorders that affect your mood, thinking, and behavior. Some examples of mental illness include depression, anxiety disorders, schizophrenia, eating disorders, and addictive behaviors. A mental health concern becomes a mental illness when ongoing signs and symptoms cause frequent stress and affect your ability to function during everyday tasks and activities. All of these issues not only affect the person diagnosed, but also their families and friends. Some of the ongoing stress and anxiety that is related to the mental health issues rubs off onto those supporting him or her. This also occurs because it is extremely common for those diagnosed to experience extreme personality changes, which is caused by the immense stress associated with the mental illnesses. Who is affected? Mental illness indirectly affects all Canadians at some time throughout their life, either through a family member, a friend, or colleague. 20% of Canadians will personally experience a mental illness in their lifetime. Mental illness affects people of all ages, cultures, along with educational and income levels. Approximately 8% of adults will experience major depression at some time in their lives, and about 1% of Canadians will experience bipolar disorder, also known as manic depression. Schizophrenia affects 1% of the Canadian population, while anxiety disorders affect 5% of the household population, causing mild to severe impairment. Suicide accounts for 24% of all deaths among 15 to 24-year-olds, and 16% among 25 to 44-year-olds. Suicide is one of the leading causes of death in both men and women, from adolescence to middle age. However, the mortality rate due to suicide among men is 4 times the rate among women. We can imply that men are more affected by mental illness and the struggles of everyday life than women. What causes it? A complex interplay of genetic, biological, personality, and environmental factors can cause mental illness. Almost one half, 49%, of those who feel they have suffered from depression or anxiety have never gone to see a doctor about their problem. Stigma, or discrimination attached to mental illness, presents a serious barrier, not only to diagnosis and treatment, but also to acceptance in the community. I'm now going to go over the psychology behind mental illnesses. Some mental illnesses have been proven to be linked to genes. It has also been discovered that certain brain abnormalities increase a person's risk of developing post-traumatic stress disorder. Furthermore, psychologists are starting to look at specific parts of the brain that perform differently depending on whether the person has a mental illness or not. For example, Helen Mayberg, a professor of psychiatry and neurology at Emory University, has been actively involved in research that singles out a region in the brain. The specific region is called Brodmann 25. This region has been found to be overly active in people with depression. The interesting thing about this area is that it interacts with other areas of the brain that are involved with mood, emotion, and thinking. This is why this area of the brain is suspected of being a contributing factor in the mental health of those diagnosed with depression. Furthermore, evidence shows that some mental illnesses can actually be related to changes in the anatomy, physiology, and chemistry of the nervous system. This directly correlates with the instances among teens and mental health issues, as the brain develops the most during adolescence, a key component of the nervous system. Several different mental illnesses are directly linked to loss of gray matter. This can be proven by the findings of Dr. Emmett Etkin. Dr. Etkin is a psychiatrist as well as a neuroscientist at Stanford University. He examined medical literature of nearly 200 structural brain imaging studies. Of these 200 studies, 7,000 people diagnosed with mental illness and 8,500 healthy individuals were involved. When the studies were compared, it was found that all studies involving individuals with psychiatric disorders all had something in common: loss of gray matter tissue. The loss of this tissue was found in 3 specific regions deep in the brain. They were found in the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the right insula, and the left insula. These regions are directly related to executive functioning. Dr. Aitken describes this as the thing that allows a person to function in life. This proves why the stigma behind mental illness should not be taken lightly, as these individuals have a more difficult time functioning during everyday tasks. This point brings me to the true problem relating to mental illness within today's society: the stigma surrounding it. The stigma behind mental illness is truly the largest issue in today's society. With 3 out of every 4 people being diagnosed having admitted to experiencing some form of stigma, it is clear this is a large problem. A stereotype is a widely held but fixed and oversimplified image of it or idea of a particular type of person or thing. When a person is labeled by their illness, they are seen as a part of a stereotyped group. Negative attitudes create prejudice, which leads to discrimination, which is the unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things. Stigma is the negative stereotype, and discrimination is the behavior that results from this negative stereotype. Criminals are frequently pleading insane or mentally unstable to avoid harsher sentences. This is the negative, unpredictable stereotype people are afraid of to be associated with. Along with this, people are remaining in the dark about their mental illness and not seeking the help they need because they are afraid to be judged. This has a direct correlation to our society. This brings me to the next topic of discussion, which is sociology and how it impacts the stigma surrounding mental illness. The stigma behind mental illness involving adolescents is directly affiliated with sociology. Globalization is changing our society, which in return is negatively affecting mental illness and the stigma that surrounds it. Globalization is the process of interaction and integration among the people, companies, and governments of different nations. This process is driven by international trade and investment. With the market worth of over $227 billion, smartphones are flooding our consumer society. The negative aspect of this is children as young as 10 are being handed these devices and are doing pretty much as they please with them. As a result, preteens are all over social media, and some of their interactions have become a hotspot for cyberbullying. This contributes largely to mental illness. However, the true horrible thing about it is the way it contributes to the stigma that is associated with these mental illnesses. The immense amount of social media outlets puts huge amounts of pressure on teens and preteens to fit in with their peers. This results in teens being too afraid to talk about the issues they may be struggling with in fear that they will be judged or ridiculed. This makes it clear something must be done about social media. Samuel Eisenstadt claimed that in most societies there exists modernizing elites, groups of people that bring about social change and influence the direction it goes. We need to work together to bring about social change and adjust the way we approach social media, youth and technology, and finally the stigma behind mental illness. Despite this, there are still organizations that are highly striving for this. Max Weber, a well-known sociologist, claimed that one of the most important components of social change is a leader with charisma. Being a charismatic leader involves large vision, magnetic style, strong popular support, and extraordinary character. In this regard, social change is a good outlet when it comes to addressing the stigma surrounding mental illness. Today, Bell Canada, one of the largest telephone companies in Canada, is acting largely as a charismatic leader when it comes to changing the social stigmas around mental illness. Bell has committed over $100 million to support a wide range of mental health organizations. They believe in a 4-pillar system to battle the stigma and help those in need. The 4 pillars are 1. Anti-stigma, 2. Care and access, 3. Workplace health, and 4. Research. Right now in our society, the most important issue is the stigma, and the overall lack of acceptance of mental illnesses. However, once the issue of stigma is addressed and people are no longer afraid to seek the help they are so desperately in need of, research will become the primary issue. The brain is still one of the largest mysteries of the human body, as it is so complex. Further research is necessary to truly understand how each mental illness affects the brain individually. Before any of this will happen, it is first necessary we work together towards bringing about the social change necessary to put an end to the stigma surrounding mental illnesses. We must also pave the way for the following generations so they no longer have to live in fear and silence. I hope this presentation is one small step in the right direction towards increasing awareness and facilitating change. Thank you.